Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for joining us. We have a great show for you today. First, justice in the Daniel Penny trial, an arrest in the UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson case, and was the judge in Kentucky who was shot in his chambers running a brothel? We have this day in legal history and our dumb criminal of the day. Let's talk about it.
All right, lawyer.
Good day, everyone. You know the drill. Subscribe if you haven't, like if you do, leave me a comment below, hit that bell for notifications, and yes, you can check us out anytime on any of your favorite podcasting apps. Now, ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to ask you a quick favor. First, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. All right, we're like this close to 275,000 subscribers. I know it may not seem like a lot to you all, but it seems like the number I've just been trying to get to for a while now, and we're this close. So if you want to help us out, we'd appreciate it. All right? Thank you very much. All right, before we get to the docket, let's talk about CrimeTalkSearch.com. All right? Now, you may say, Scott, I have no need to do a background search on anybody, so why would I need this background subscription service at CrimeTalkSearch.com? Well, maybe there's somebody coming new into your life, or maybe you're just curious. Like, say, I don't know, let's say somebody got arrested for a crime in New York, and you say, hey, I want to see if there's anything I can find about this guy. I don't know, so maybe you run a background search on Luigi Mangione, and then you get the results. We'll talk about it in a minute. But go to CrimeTalkSearch.com because it's going to give you all kinds of information, criminal history, associates, social media presence, known addresses, anything like that, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to be able to find it out. Go to CrimeTalkSearch.com. You're going to be happy that you did. All right, let's go ahead and open the record for December 9th of 2024. First, justice for Daniel Penny. All right, from the day that we first started covering this case, I just thought, yeah, something's not right. And the more information we got about this case, I was like, why is this guy charged? But only because, well, they have the worst DA in America, Alvin Bragg, there in New York in Manhattan. And I urge everybody, if you live in New York, please do not vote for Alvin Bragg as the DA again. He is pathetic. He has made your city unsafe. And then he goes and prosecutes people like Daniel Penny that should be getting a key to the city and not being prosecuted where they could possibly spend the next 15 years in prison. All right, so we'll get to the story and then a little more commentary because, of course, all the race hustlers out there saying, all the BLM crowd saying this was all because it's a unfair white jury. Well, let's talk about the jury, all right? So Daniel Penny has been found not guilty of negligent homicide after the trial was over, and this is, of course, regarding the death of Jordan Neely. Now, jurors returned their verdict on Monday morning, prompting cheers from Penny's legal team and some foul-mouthed outburst among the public gallery where Neely's supporters were sitting. So, as you may recall, last Friday, the judge in the case allowed the state to dismiss the top charge of manslaughter after it became clear jurors would not be able to reach a verdict. It paved the way for them to consider the lesser charge, and that's what they did today. So now Penny's lawyers had demanded a mistrial. And of course, nobody wants a mistrial. But if you're thinking, hey, let's do a mistrial, but then you just got to go do it all over again. So I'm glad the judge didn't grant the mistrial. And the judge denied it repeatedly. All right. And then on Monday morning, jurors sent a note revealing that they had reached a consensus a little quicker than maybe a lot of people thought. It was really a bad sign. Like maybe there was a holdout, like a compromised verdict coming down. But no. They came with a not guilty. Yes, Daniel Penny, Semper Fi, buddy. You did the right thing, and you went to trial. You did nothing wrong. Mr. Neely was a troubled man. He had mental health issues. He was schizophrenic. He was going on that subway train, threatening to kill people, saying he was going to kill somebody, and he wasn't afraid to go to prison. And a hero, Daniel Penny, stepped up and protected not only himself, but others on that train. And these people testified under oath that they were terrified of Mr. Neely. Anyway, after the trial, the defense team went to a bar in the Manhattan Financial District. They were allowed to leave through a back door of the courthouse because there were a bunch of protesters out front. and they were lashing out at the decision of not guilty. Now, as you may recall, Penny placed Neely in a chokehold on a subway car floor after the homeless man, who's mentally ill, street performer, began threatening commuters. So be it, whatever, right? But at least it is finally over, because this goes back to April, May of last year, ladies and gentlemen. And they went to a bar in the financial district today, and they were celebrating. Apparently, it was his legal team and supporters and family. And obviously, he was quite thankful for the result that he got, as well he should have. Now, apparently, Mr. Penny did address his supporters briefly at the pub, telling one woman he appreciates the unwavering backing that he received. Like I said, now the usual suspects, the race hustlers, were, of course, appalled by the verdict and calling the verdict an injustice. All the jurors must be racist, and the entire judicial system is racist. Now, Jordan Neely's father, a man who apparently wasn't there for his son when he was homeless, on the streets, with mental health issues, threatening people, he, of course, finds it now appropriate to sue Daniel Penny, who was a former Marine. I think he's 26. He was going to architecture school. So I'm sure, Daniel Penny just has all kinds of money just dripping from bank accounts. No, he doesn't. It's a waste. And let me guess, then they're going to go after the city, probably trying to say that they were negligent in providing safety for their son. And of course, who knows? The city may wind up paying. I hope not. I hope not. Justice for Daniel Penny, thank goodness. Now, like I said, the normal race baiter hustlers out there who think everything is racist, and I'm telling you, if it had been switched, if Daniel Penny had been black and Neely white, the facts wouldn't have changed anything. He still would have been found not guilty because he didn't do anything wrong, because Mr. Neely was still alive when the police showed up, and they didn't perform any medical assistance aid to Mr. Neely. And he had a, thank goodness, it's over, not guilty. But let's talk about these jurors, all right? Now, obviously, we don't know their names because, well, they could be concerned about their safety, given these people that are literally calling for people to riot. They came really close to saying, go out there and attack people. They just said, go out and attack the injustice of the world. But if they had said, go and attack, white people on trains, that'd be a little more problematic for them. But these jurors, juror number 1, used the subway 3 to 4 times a week and has seen outbursts on public transportation. She lives near the Lincoln Center and works in marketing communications. Juror number 2 was a healthcare worker who said she used the subway 4 times a week, but that has never seen anything of concern on the rides, and he lives in Washington Heights. Juror number 3, a software engineer from the East Village, occasionally rides on the subway, and like juror number 2, said he's never felt threatened. Juror 4 is an insurance lawyer from Yorksville and told the court that she once had a cart rammed into her while riding the subway, and she said the incident did not make her fear for her life. Juror 5 is a retired engineer from the Upper East Side who specifically detailed having experience with a homeless man suffering from mental illness on the subway platform. Juror number 6, retired librarian, rides the subway several times a week but never felt threatened. Juror 7, similarly never felt threatened and can't recall having ever seen an outburst. Juror 8 is a retiree from the East Village who says that she rarely uses the subway. Juror 9 works in a school development office and uses the subway. While she's seen outbursts, she's never personally been targeted. Juror 10 works in online retail marketing and revealed that she has personally been harassed in an empty subway car in the past. And she stated that she thought there were particular instances where force could be used. Juror 11 is a corporate lawyer. He subscribes to the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, listens to podcasts, National Public Radio. Similar to jurors before him, he frequently rides the subway and never seen any particular outburst. Juror number 12 was a paralegal in a litigation team who rides the subway 5 times a week and said that she has seen altercations during her rides. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Justice was done. The citizens, clearly from a variety, a walk of life, people that ride the subway had incidents, hadn't, but they believed that the way that Mr. Neely was acting and the actions of Mr. Penny were justified. Thank goodness. Thank goodness justice was done. So for all the race hustlers, just, look at the jury. You think that jury sounds like a bunch of racists? No, No, they don't. They sound like a bunch of people that say, I want to ride on a subway car and I want to be safe. And I shouldn't have to deal with some mentally ill person coming up and threatening them. Who knew if he was armed or had a knife or whatever, ladies and gentlemen? People want to be safe. And people like the worst DA in a country, Alvin Bragg, have made it so that New York City is not safe. And people are saying, we want our city back. Next, the suspect in the fatal shooting of the UnitedHealthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, has been identified as Luigi Mangione. Now, this guy's an ex-Ivy League student. Now, he was nabbed for the killing of the UnitedHealthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, and apparently is an anti-capitalist Ivy League grad who liked online quotes from Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, and apparently had his own little manifesto very similar to the Unabomber, stating, quote, these parasites had it coming, according to what the police said in a statement. Now, apparently, Luigi Mangione is a kind of a tech wizard, originally from Townsend, Maryland, apparently hated the medical community because of how it treated his sick relatives, according to some sources. And he has not been charged in the slaying, but was taken into custody Monday morning while eating at a McDonald's in Pennsylvania, ending a pretty intense manhunt sparked by the cold-blooded execution of Thompson outside of a Manhattan hotel last week. Now, the former prep school valedictorian was caught with a gun that was used 9mm bullets, a silencer, had a U.S. passport, 4 fake IDs with names used during the killer's stint in New York City, as well as his manifesto. Now, the manifesto consisted of 2.5 handwritten pages that mirrored the quotes that Mangione posted on his Goodreads account from anti-establishment Unabomber Ted Kaczynski, who terrorized people across the country for nearly 2 decades by mailing deadly bombs before he was nabbed in 1996. One of the quotes was, imagine a society that subjects people to conditions that makes them terribly unhappy, then gives them the drugs to take away their unhappiness, Kaczynski wrote at one point. But it was liked by Mangione. Science fiction. Is it already happening to some extent in our own society? Instead of removing the conditions that make people depressed, modern society gives them antidepressant drugs. In effect, antidepressants are a means of modifying an individual's internal state in such a way as to enable him to tolerate social conditions that would otherwise be intolerable. Now, this manifesto said the suspect acted alone, accordingly, and Mangino had a particularly personal reason to hate the medical community, as apparently he was not pleased with the treatment that a couple of relatives received. Some online obituaries showed that he lost a grandmother in 2013 and a grandfather in 2017. His LinkedIn page indicates that he once worked in an assisted living facility for the elderly for a few months in 2014, while still in high school. Now, it's unclear if Mangione has made any statements to the police, but he's also subscribed to an anti-capitalist and climate change cause organizations, according to the police. Like I said, so Mangione was the valedictorian in 2016 to his high school graduating class at Gilman School in Baltimore, where he played soccer. And that tuition there was pretty hefty at $40,000 a year. He said that at the time of his graduation, he planned to seek a degree in artificial intelligence, focused in the areas computer science and cognitive science at the University of Pennsylvania. And he also graduated cum laude from the private Ivy League institution in Philadelphia and a bachelor's of science in engineering. He also completed a master's of science in computer and information systems from the University of Pennsylvania. His LinkedIn suggests he is a data engineer at a car company based in California, although currently lists him in Hawaii. Now, the states, apparently the state of the country's government and the economy were apparently in the mind of this gentleman for several years. He reposted a Wall Street Journal article on Facebook in 2019 titled Obstacles to Deficit Cutting, a Nation of Entitlements. His Facebook account, which did not have any recent postings, say, he is the co-founder of AppRoar Studios, which describes itself as an app development startup founded to provide the simplest and most engaging gaming experience. Now, while at Penn, he appeared to write an article in a student publication that praised him for starting up a student-run video game development club. And the club is now known as the University of Pennsylvania Game Research and Development Environment. Now, like I said, because we always try to bring you the best and the latest news along with commentary, we went to CrimeTalkSearch.com, signed into our site there, and did a background search on Luigi Mangione. Gives his address, obviously, there in Maryland. Gives us possible phone numbers, gave us a couple of possible emails, and gave us his best match for his Gmail, but we're not going to give that out to you. But, you can go to CrimeTalkSearch.com and look it up. Possible addresses. Then it gives possible relatives, more than likely his parents, who are age 60 and 71, it would appear to be. Got some other relatives also in Maryland. One is as old as 99, but it gives you all those listings. Possible neighbors gives those individuals. Possible associates. Now, this is what I find interesting. There's a possible association with a guy named Matthew. I won't give his last name. Same age as Mr. Mangione in Pennsylvania, where he was arrested. Not saying that this Matthew had anything to do with it. I'm not saying that, but maybe he was trying to get to. Then we get to his social media pages, and that was the Facebook at the App Roar Studios that we mentioned, and also GitHub, GITHUB. Now, what is also interesting is he had a web page on YouTube, and this is where it gets good. He says, if you are seeing this, that means I'm under arrest. Roll that one right now, Frank. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. We got it. It's since been deleted. Now, that has been deleted by YouTube, but the team here at Crime Talk got it before it was deleted. We'll bring you more as things develop. Obviously, cold-blooded execution. I thought it was going to be a little cat and mouse game. I thought it would go a little longer than it did. Certainly what he did was wrong, and if they can prove that it was in fact him, we'll give him the presumption of innocence, then obviously he's going to prison for the rest of his life. He hasn't been charged with the killing yet. He's been arrested on a gun charge because apparently he had a ghost gun on his person. So, Mr. Mangione, we're going to be following you there, buddy, but CrimeTalkSearch.com, ladies and gentlemen. Add it to the stack of people we searched. Next. Remember that judge that was killed in his chambers by the sheriff? Was it part of some sort of sextortion scheme? A brothel, I dare say? Well, let's just wait and see, ladies and gentlemen, because things are getting a little weird, all right? So a Kentucky judge who was shot and killed in his chambers by the county sheriff earlier this year was possibly allegedly part of a sex for favors scheme, according to a witness in a case against the deputy convicted back in January of 2022 of raping a prisoner. So Sabrina Adkina told investigators that the deputy, Ben Fields, had videos of girls doing sexual stuff in the chambers of the judge, Kevin Mullins, who was shot to death in chambers on September 19th by the now former county sheriff, Sean Mickey Steins. Although Steins has pled not guilty, no information has been provided about a motive as of yet. Now, this Miss Atkins testified against Mr. Fields after he pled guilty to raping her. She was on home monitoring while she was a court security officer for the sheriff's office and worked a side job for a monitoring company in eastern Kentucky at the correctional services place there. Anyway, he was initially indicted on 7 felony counts and 1 misdemeanor, but pled guilty to 1 third-degree rape, third-degree sodomy, 2 counts of tampering with a prisoner monitoring device, and a second-degree perjury, and was sentenced to 6 months in prison and 6.5 years on probation. Now, the other charges against him were dropped because of a second victim had in fact died, and Fields was never charged with abusing his position as a deputy or a jailer. Now, Atkins, who was one of the 2 women who filed the civil lawsuit against Field, which also names Steins as a defendant, saying he failed to train or supervise his deputy sheriffs adequately. Now, Steins was deposed in that case a few days before the murder of Mullins, and he claimed he had no knowledge of Field's activity until the criminal charges against him were filed, and he fired the deputy immediately at that point. But Atkins told investigators that she and other prisoners not only had sex with Fields in exchange for bail, but that she saw a video showing Mullins having sex with a prisoner in his chambers. At first, he said she'd seen the video of Fields and some higher-ups, but moments later admitted, I saw Judge Mullins having sex with a girl. It's likely they were running a brothel out of the courtroom, Atkins' attorney stated. Now, according to the lawsuit, Atkins said she met Fields at least 6 times in Mullins' chambers for sex after he told her she wouldn't have to wear or pay for the ankle monitor while in home arrest if she did so. Anyway, Mullins' chambers were used after hours, the complaint alleged, and because there were no cameras in the judge's chambers. But surveillance cameras in Mullins' chambers captured Steins shooting the judge as he sat at his desk. It's not clear when those cameras were installed. Now, Steins and Mullins obviously got into an argument at lunch on the day of the shooting, as we've had witnesses testify that something just wasn't right, and the Steins wanted to bring something up, and the judge says, no, let's talk about it in chambers. Anyway, Steins went back to the courthouse with the judge, met him there, and shot him while he was in chambers, and then immediately surrendered. Obviously, he's been resigned his position. They had a preliminary hearing. Probable cause was bound over. And then he was indicted with, obviously, murder of a public official, which could carry the potential of the death penalty. The defense says, hey, there's justification. Well, even if there was a brothel being run in the judge's chambers and the judge was participating in the alleged brothel, allegedly, not saying he is, don't know, just stating what we know so far, that's still, I doubt, heat of passion, ladies and gentlemen. That's just good old-fashioned, cold-blooded murder. We'll keep you updated as things come along. I don't know what to make of that case. I don't know. I would hope a judge would not do something like that. I would hope a public sheriff, elected sheriff wouldn't do anything crazy like that. And if you did, you'd come out immediately with the reason why you did what you did. All right, next on the docket, this day in legal history, December 9th, 1953. The Supreme Court of the United States hears arguments in Brown v. Board of Education. Obviously, big deal, and ultimately the decision came down saying separate but equal was not permissible. December 9th, 1953, the Supreme Court began rehearing argument in the case that ultimately declared racial segregation in public schools unconstitutional. And then on this day in 1965, the United States passes the Voting Rights Act Amendment. The amendment strengthened protection for African Americans and other minorities, particularly addressing barriers to voter registration and literacy tests in the South. You can't impede people from voting by saying, can you pass a knowledge test? Although you would think and hope that people should know a little bit about what's going on, but you can't do that, and that makes sense. And then finally, our dumb criminal of the day. Someone needs a new GPS, specifically this alleged MS-13 gang member who made a wrong turn and ended up arrested at the Peace Bridge leading into the United States into Canada. So this all took place on November 22nd at the border crossing in New York's Port of Buffalo. Per the press release from the U.S. Customs and Border Protections, officers at the bridge stopped a 24-year-old man from Honduras who didn't have a passport or other necessary paperwork to cross into Canada. When they pulled the man over, aside for further examination, the Border Patrol was able to identify him as Franklin Hernandez Giron, suspected of being a member of the Mara Salvatrucha gang, or MS-13. Now, Giron was detained and processed ahead of removal proceedings per the release, and this example shows the dangerous individual of customs that the Customs and Border Patrol officers encounter on a regular basis, keeping everyone protected. But like I said, this guy, dumb criminal, you think you got a GPS, don't take the bridge where you're going to be checked if you got no identity, no passport, ladies and gentlemen. So, Mr. Garan, you are a dumb criminal of the day. All right, that's all we have for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you. Remember, the Constitution matters, and yes, it was a good day for Daniel Penny. Good day. Get rid of Alvin Bragg. Vote him out of office. Out of office. Anyone in New York. We'll see you next time.